cold darkness of an October morning, driver Andy Fillingham signs on for a shift. First job, as always, check for new notices.
Right, I'm going to put throwables on.
Okay, thanks.
Then it's into the yard to meet his fireman for the day, Dave Loasby, who is already at work on the locomotive they have been assigned to. It was in steam yesterday, so they have a head start. There is already a small warming fire on the go and 110 pounds of pressure on the boiler gauge. That's half the maximum.
The loco's nice and hot. They're not always like this though. Quite often there'll be no fire, an old fire in it, which you've got to clear out first. So it just depends. You're never quite sure what you're going to find.
By torchlight, Andy inspects the hydrostatic lubricator in the cab. Meanwhile, Dave has been gathering wood to start the main fire. Number 6988 is a Great Western Modified Hall class locomotive. Alongside a pannier tank, number 7714 is being lit up from cold. After filling up the oil cans, it's time for Andy to inspect every lubrication point on the Hall's motion, the moving metal rods which connect the wheels to the cylinders. Every oiling point needs to be topped up, including the ones out of sight between the locomotive's frames.
But this is quite, because it's relatively new back into service, it's very clean in here, which is lovely. If they've been in service for a few years, they're filthy.
Meanwhile, Dave is using paraffin-soaked rags wrapped around large pieces of wood to start the main fire, which will bring the locomotive to full operating steam pressure.
A nice bit of wood in there. Once it catches, it will go. That's what you can see. I want to try and take it slowly. So my aim is to get it to working pressure before we leave shed, but not blowing off. That's what I want to do. So because it had already got 110 pounds of steam on when we came in, I'm not going to need a big fire too soon. So I'm trying to make it slowly, effectively.
And now it's Dave's turn for a filthy job. Working underneath the fire, he hoses down the debris in the locomotive's ash pans, so it can be scraped out before the locomotive moves off shed. As the railway comes to life for the day, the shed fitters have some jobs to complete on the loco.
So we're currently refitting the sanding pipes to the hall that were taken off during its overhaul, which requires somebody up here with a socket making sure that the bolt doesn't spin while my colleague below reattaches it.
They've got changed, then we're ready, aren't we?
We are ready, yes.
There's still time, though, to ensure a copy of today's timetable and notices are close to hand. And then Dave must test the injectors to ensure water can flow into the boiler, and Andy can set the hydrostatic lubricator.
I'm now just going to check the rate of feed, which is controlled by these individual valves here. So you want to blob every sort of 6 or 7 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's not quite fast enough, but it's worth letting it settle down. So that's pretty good actually.
With the pressure raised and the brakes checked, it's finally time to move off shed and begin today's trains. 3 hours since Andy and Dave clocked on. There's a tender full of coal and water. Precisely on time, the loco passes the clock in the traffic office and the day's work can really begin.